threat. And I'm not going to lie, like there is some news making waves today that seems a little like sci-fi, but it is not. The AI giant Anthropic, they just announced that they have this new model so powerful that they will not be releasing it to the public. They called it Mythos, and apparently it's already found thousands of massive security flaws, what they describe as zero-day vulnerabilities in cybersecurity. That is a big deal, and it's in every major operating system, every single browser. It's the stuff that you and I are using every single day. So this is all such a reckoning that all of a sudden this is happening. And I know what you're thinking, like this is just a bunch of logos. These are some of the biggest tech companies on the planet. These are competitors, and they are being given access to Mythos for good, to use it to harden defenses. So what is going on? Why is
Right now, their best public model is Opus 4.6, and Mythus actually blows past it on basically every single benchmark. And the thing that really caught my attention is they didn't train it to be a hacker. They trained it to just be really, really good at writing code. And being really good at code made it really good at breaking code. And that happened all on its own. It's like training someone to be the world's best locksmith. You don't teach them to break into houses, but now that they understand locks so well, they easily could go break into almost any house. And that skill just came free. So let me give you the numbers because they're super, super wild.
Let's understand what happened during evaluation. The model attempted to escape a sandbox environment, built a multi-step exploit to gain broader access, and communicated its success externally. Yes, the numbers are absurd. SWE Bench Pro, 77.8% versus 53.4%. Terminal task.
Imagine an AI that can look at the world's most critical software, every major operating system and web browser, and find thousands of hidden vulnerabilities that humans and traditional tools missed for decades, some bugs over 27 years old. And it doesn't just find them, it autonomously writes working exploits to break in. That's not science fiction. That is Claude Mythos preview from Anthropic, announced just a few days ago in April 2026. Today, I'm breaking down the full story. What's this?
Interesting part of the paper, but let's cover them now because they were still startling. On multiple measures of software engineering, Mythos beats out Opus 4.6, the uber popular model from Anthropic, one that has led them to climb to an annualized revenue rate of 30 billion, narrowly overtaking OpenAI apparently. That's mainly due to its coding and agentic capabilities, but Mythos beats out Opus by a massive margin. In SWE Bench Pro, for example, by 25%. Now, if you dig deep, you can find benchmarks where it doesn't beat out, for example, GPT 5.4 Pro, but I'll get to that in a moment. For now, you can see the stark improvement over Opus 4.6 on a range of coding benchmarks. Most traditional AI benchmarks are now nearing saturation, but I'll just pick out humanity's last exam, designed to test topics so obscure that it would indeed be the last exam that AI would saturate. Well, when allowed some tools, Claude Mythos gets almost 2/3 of those questions right, compared to around 50% for other frontier models. It's kind of looking like that won't be humanity's last exam. Now, before anyone goes too wild and says it's over Anthropic 1, let me just point out one stat that was not terribly clear in this chart. Take Charchive reasoning. It's a measure of how well models can understand and analyze charts from Archive, a repository of scientific papers. Without tools, Claude Mythos scores 86%, with tools 93%, and that seems clearly starkly better than any other model. But wait, on page 186 of the report, we do get a comparison with other models. Yes, it's a subset of the original benchmark, but it still allows us that rarest of things in this report, a direct comparison. I'll get to the remix in a second, but in the original subset, we have Claude Mythos getting 83%, and that beats out Gemini 3.1 Pro at 82%, and GPT 5.4 Pro at 80%. But what about the subset remix, where you try to avoid memorization by, for example, asking for the model to identify the second lowest result rather than the second highest? Basically, keep the question difficulty the same, but mix up the exact question to prevent contamination. Well, on that remix, Claude Mythos gets the same score as Gemini 3.1 Pro and slightly underperforms GPT 5.4 Pro, which gets 88%. Yes, it's just charts and it's just one subset of one benchmark, but I don't want you to think...
Hitter in the artificial intelligence world has announced that it is teaming up with tech giants to, in its words, quote, secure the world's most critical software. What are they securing it from, you might wonder? Anthropic's own AI model called Mythos. Mythos has already found vulnerabilities in, quote, every major operating system and web browser that it's interacted with. And for that reason, fearing that bad actors, if this were out in the public domain, could exploit Mythos's capabilities, Anthropic says it is not releasing it just yet. It's a heck of a story. New York Times reporter Mike Isaac joins us now to explain. So, Mike, walk us through the basics. What Mythos is, what it's been allowed to encounter in the software world, and what are the implications?
So yeah, Mythos is the latest what's called model from Anthropic, a Silicon Valley startup, one of the most, I would say, buzzy AI startups out in San Francisco right now. And with each of these models, they're getting a bit more sophisticated in what they're able to do. You know, it's a type of research called reasoning, which allows them to, think a little bit further ahead than each last one. But Mythos is kind of different because this is very specifically focused on digging into operating systems for everything from desktops to smartphones to, different systems inside of the government, and finding any possible vulnerabilities inside them. And I was reading about this as they had released it, and they had made notes that, some software that's been around for decades, Mythos found bugs in it, vulnerabilities that were critical in just a few hours of digging through it. So it's really, I think it's probably smart of them to not give it to anyone if this can immediately find security flaws in the world's most important and powerful software.
So Anthropic is not an altruistic entity. It is doing this on a cost-saving basis for now. But when this is perfected, as I understand it, Mike, it will charge a pretty high rack rate.
I mean, you could also say this is one of their most effective marketing campaigns ever, right?
You might also say that, yes.
I called around to some of the big tech companies. Right now, they're not releasing it. They're only allowing like the big tech companies, some of the banks to use it. And I called around and I said, is this real? Is this hype? Anthropic is filled with a bunch of people who are often saying this is very dangerous and AI is going to harm us. And they kind of landed somewhere in the middle. They said, look, this is actually finding real security issues that we need to take seriously. Anthropic is often seen as like the Chicken Little of Silicon Valley, but this is actually important stuff in how the infrastructure of the
What's up, engineers? Indie Dev Dan here. As you've heard, the product that went from 0 to $1 billion in 6 months, faster than any product in history, has leaked. Claude code has been leaked. Every other YouTube tech channel is and will.
So it's a fair question. Until we have this model rolled out more widely, it's going to be difficult to say. Right now, there are, under 50 organizations, partner organizations, that can actually get their hands on this model. That being said, from the few people who have publicly experimented with it and talked about it, they are taking it seriously. And as Bloomberg reported this morning, the government is as well, hosting a meeting among some government leaders to talk about the potential vulnerabilities to the financial sector that technologies like this could raise if released.
Shireen, what has all this meant for OpenAI? Because it's been an extraordinary week for them as well in terms of public relations, but also what's been happening in terms of them saying to their own investors, according to your reporting, that, look, we're ahead of the game because we've got more compute, but yet they're not going ahead with certain compute projects in the UK, for example.
Yes, again, everyone is parsing different signals here and trying to understand which way things are headed, or rather why certain decisions are made. But what we do know is that there is still this compute crunch, and that all the major AI labs say they need much more compute in order to be able to serve their customers, and that tracks with what we're seeing in terms of restrictions on free usage with some of the major vendors, and they're charging more, right, for the most premium products. So with OpenAI, what we know is that they still very much
is going to be important, because we want to wrap that with the MCP tool. Going back to AI, natural language, we want every one of those to be relatable to the language model when we set up the tools. Because think about it this way, your traditional...
And I want to go through and decompose that stack and give you layer by layer what agents look like and where the agent primitives are going in this economy. Number one, layer one, compute and sandboxing. This one is perhaps the most production ready in the stack. It's already bearing the load for agents. And what's the premise? It's really simple. The agent needs somewhere safe to run code. It should not run on your laptop. It should not run in production, and it should not run unsupervised. It needs isolated, sandboxed, auditable execution. I think that this layer has the most mature competition at this point, right? E2B has roughly $32 million in funding. It uses Firecracker micro VMs. It has the same tech as AWS Lambda has, and it's intended to give each agent a session with its own dedicated kernel. But it's not the only one, right? Daytona raised a $24 million Series A recently and took a different architectural bet. They have Docker containers with a shared kernel, and it's optimized for speed. I think they claim a 90 millisecond cold start, which is insanely fast, and also a persistent state. Modal is a startup that targets GPU-heavy workloads. BrowserBase is valued at $300 billion after their Series B, and it focuses on headless browser automation, giving agents the ability to interact with web pages as if they were human users. And then there's newer entrants in the space. Alibaba's Open Sandbox is a good example. The interesting split in this space is really philosophical. Are you going to be ephemeral with your agents, or are you going to be persistent? E2B treats sandboxes as disposable. You spin one up, you run code, you spin it down. Daytona and Sprites treat these spaces as long-lived, and they assume that your agent can install dependencies, that it can create files, and that your agent in some sense will come back later. They assume a degree of agentic persistence. This is not a style preference. This is not optional for you to think about. This is an architectural bet from these startups on how long agent sessions in the new economy will run and whether state matters for those agent sessions. Both camps will probably survive because the agent economy is going to be that big, but you're going to have to think about what your workloads need. If you want to look at this part of the stack, this is a really high durability component, right? Whatever you want to bet on, whether you want to bet on persistent agents or disposable agents, your agents need safe spaces to run code, and it totally makes sense that they're going to have virtual boxes to do it on. There will be a lot more startups working to solve this problem over the next year or so, but this is an area where it's relatively mature now, and you have multiple options, and you need to think about which one you want to use if you want to deploy your agents in any kind of computing environment that is virtual. What is layer 2 on top of the compute piece? Layer 2 is identity and communication. This is in a weird space. It's transitional, and I think that we need to be
Now, let's talk about how users actually interact with your agent. And here's a tempting trap, right? Building your own chat interface. Don't do that, right? Please don't. Your engineers are already comfortable in Claude Code or Cursor or Windsurf or whichever coding agent they prefer. Building yet another UI is a waste of time, and nobody will want to switch to it. Instead, make your agent accessible through the tools people already use. The best way to do that right now is the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. You expose your agent through MCP, and any MCP-compatible client can talk to it immediately. Claude Co, Cursor, Windsurf, they all support MCP already. Now, you might have heard of Google's Agent-to-Agent Protocol, or A2A, which is designed for agents to communicate with each other. Here's the practical reality. Existing coding agents already speak MCP natively. To use A2A, you need an MCP adapter to bridge the gap, which kind of defeats the purpose. If you need MCP to get to A2A, why not just expose your agent through MCP directly? Just do it. But coding agents aren't the only consumers. You might have custom applications, internal dashboards, support tools, or even CI/CD pipelines that need to talk to your agent. For those, expose it through REST HTTP as well. And if your agent produces rich visualizations or interactive outputs that a terminal cannot handle, well, a web UI makes sense as well. So it's the same agent, one agent or multiple.
Amazing, we have a winner. As open models become more central to enterprise infrastructure, security is paramount. Developed by Google DeepMine, Gemma 4 undergoes the same rigorous security protocols as our proprietary models, giving enterprise and developer a trusted foundation to build on top of. We want you to be able to use Gemma 4 with the tools you are.
Open source model that is insanely powerful. But the crazy part is, it can even run on your phone. And actually, Gemma 4 might save you hundreds of dollars because you no longer have to pay for ChatGPT. See, the beauty of local AI models is that they are completely free without any rate limits and 100% private. And this is the unspoken secret of the AI industry.
What if I told you that you could run a powerful AI model right on your own computer, completely free, no internet required, and no data ever leaving your machine? That's exactly what Google just made possible with Gemma 4, their brand new OpenAI model that just dropped a few days ago. In this video, I'm going to
briefly explain what it can do according to Google's announcement. First, the entire family of these models is designed with agent-based workflows in mind. They natively support function calling and can work with tools. Second, these models can handle images and video, and the smaller models, including the one I'm installing right now, also have native audio support. They can understand speech directly. And third, these models have a context window of 128,000 tokens and support almost all languages. By the way, Gemma 4 is released under the fully open and commercially permissive Apache 2.0 license. That means you can do almost anything you want with these models. All right.
Gemma 4 based models, yeah.
Gemma 4, 10 million downloads. Let's give some claps. Apache 2 license. From the Google mind. Also, the Twitter handle is doing great.
Yeah, 55,000 followers in 6 days.
Bro, that's insane. So give us a little bit of a reaction from the community. How's Gemma going? What's been good? What do you guys fix? Like, how's the risk?
Yeah. I mean, the community excitement has been huge. The license change was huge. The multimodal capabilities. Something that people really loved was the AI Edge gallery. So you can just download it in Android, in iOS. You can play with the model locally, and people are very excited about that because they can really see the capabilities of the models, do agentic stuff, multimodal stuff, all on their phones. So people have been very excited about that. There are always some issues with the open source library, so there are some fixes going on with Llama CPP, with the vision capabilities and so on. But yeah, it's going well.
That's so awesome, dude. And I think that Google's commitment to open source will only strengthen after this successful release. So that's why I'm very happy to see that this has succeeded. If you release Gemma and it's and fizzles out and nobody watches this, it's gonna be that much harder for you to advocate internally for open source. So we're fuck yeah, dude, 10 million downloads. Do you guys go on Hugging Face and check out some downloads for major models? 10 million is you worked on Hugging Face for a while.
Yeah, it's quite a bit for a first wave. Yeah. So in total now Gemma has all of the Gemma based models have over 500 million downloads.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when we launch new models, we want to make sure that people can use the models with their favorite open source tools, right? And we do this both for Gemini and for Gemma. So for Gemini, we work with LangChain, Llama Index, and all of the agentic libraries. Same for Gemma, we work with Ollama, Llama CPP, Hugging Face MLX. And we want to make sure that people can try out the models on day zero with their favorite tools, right? So we collaborate with them. There's an early access program. We do integrations. We open PRs and so on. So yeah.
So I will just do a small plugin from Weights and Biases. We are hosting Gemma 4 on our Influx service as well because we host the best models. Gemma 4 came out. Obviously you guys are gonna get Gemma 4 on our Influx, but it's also available in AI Studio, right? There's plenty of places to get Gemma 4 and plug it into your clouds or whatever. But we did talk about Gemma 4. Now we're just celebrating a little bit and putting contextualization for folks.
Because it's obviously moving the stock.
Yes, we have the news, Scott. Meta launching its long-awaited new AI model called Muse Spark. This was originally codenamed Avocado. It's launching on the Meta AI app and website today, rolling out to its other apps and AI glasses in coming weeks. Now, Meta says Muse Spark is its most powerful model yet, but instead of launching with a massive, sophisticated model to compete with the likes of ChatGPT or Gemini, which many expected given Meta's spending, this is a more limited release as Meta's Superintelligence Lab's chief Alex Wang slowly rolls out his work. Now, Muse Spark seems initially focused on custom uses for Meta's apps with a special mode for shopping, surfacing ideas from creators that users already follow, and visual coding tools to create websites or mini games to play with friends. Now, Muse Spark is the product of Wang's 9 months of building Meta's Superintelligence Labs, along with hundreds of billions of dollars of investment in AI infrastructure following the disappointment of Meta's prior AI models. Now, Meta seems to be trying to lower expectations and address potential criticism given Meta's AI spending, saying that this is only the start and we have larger models in development, including a more sophisticated contemplating mode, which Meta says is competitive with frontier models such as Gemini DeepThink and GPT Pro. That model, they say, will roll out later. Notably, Meta is also opening the door to a new AI. Meta has launched its long-awaited new AI model called Muse Spark, originally codenamed Avocado. It's already running on the Meta AI app and website, and it's going to be rolling out to Meta's other apps and AI glasses in coming weeks. Here's why this launch is such a big deal for Meta.
Computing push.
This compute needed as Meta debuts its first closed AI model from the new superintelligence group called Muse Spark. We'll discuss how it used China's Quen model to train it.
And all eyes on Anthropic as it closes an insider share sale that leaves some investors without the stakes they wanted.
Meanwhile, we look at what the market is up to today because once again, pessimism, risk aversion, concerns that there's a moving away, a backtracking by the US and Iran about any sort of peace talk or end to this conflict. We're currently up down 0.6%, though on in particular moves on certain stocks. So as we move out from the macro and into the micro, we talk about CoreWeave, another huge deal with Meta, $21 billion worth. It's going to be issuing its own debt on the back of that. We're going to dig into that as why we sink perhaps a little bit on this stock. But Meta up 3%. And Ed, this is notable on the back of a move of not only to be getting more compute, but why it's using that compute, Ed.
Yeah, 2 days, two different stories. Meta unveiled a new AI model, the company's first since that multi-billion-dollar overhaul of the AI lab. And in reaction to that news, in yesterday's session, the stock jumping 6%. Today, the CoreWeave news also a catalyst to push the stock higher, up 10% on a 3-day basis. Let's bring in Bloomberg's Riley Griffin, who leads the coverage of Meta. Very simple. You know, they need neoclouds, they need CoreWeave for the compute. Give us the basics of this deal.
Yeah, I mean, this brings CoreWeave to $35 billion in total contracts from Meta. This is an astounding amount, and it really tells us something that we've been talking about, Ed, which is that Zuckerberg really wants to front-load capacity. He thinks there's insatiable appetite for compute, and these deals just don't stop. It's almost every other week now that we're coming here talking about compute for Meta.
And it's sort of every other day that we talk about a new and updated model. So dig into the model and the Muse Spark, and why this is so significant for the beefed-out superintelligence labs.
This is an incredibly important development. If you look at the market reaction and listen to analysts, they're saying Meta is back in the game. This comes after early last year, Meta faced some setbacks with their Llama models. These are open source models that just weren't performing at the frontier edge, at the bleeding edge with its competitors from OpenAI, from Anthropic, from Google's Gemini. With the model that was released yesterday, it's a closed model. That's a big departure in Meta's strategy. That means that developers can't get access to that back-end code, that blueprint. And really, they're talking about monetization.
That's what is Claude Cowork. So when you open up the Claude desktop app, you see that there are 3 tabs at the top. It is Chat, Cowork, and also Code. Now, here's the simplest way to think about it. Chat is an assistant who answers your questions. You ask something and it responds. You copy the text and you go do something with it yourself. Now, Code is for writing code, running prompts, and also shipping entire products. It's powerful, but you need a technical background in order to use it. And then you have Cowork. It's an employee who completes entire tasks on your computer. All you do is you describe what you want done, you walk away, you come back to a finished file that is sitting in your folder. It's real Excel spreadsheets with working formulas, real PowerPoint decks with proper formatting, real Word documents that are...
I'm going to show you how to install Claude Cowork and set up your first skills and MCP server so that your entire social media runs from a single place. This is similar to the setup I use to post across 8 platforms to nearly 2 million followers. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, without opening a single app. If you're thinking I'm not technical enough, I
focus on real-world applications over theory. The free tier gives you about 30 messages
messages every 8 hours with Sonnet 4.6. That's actually quite a lot for testing. But if you're serious about using Claude daily, the $20 Pro subscription is worth it. You get 5x more usage, access to Opus 4.6, and new features like Claude Cowork. One interface tip most people miss: you can have multiple
creating. But there's an even more powerful form of creation available called artifacts. That's what this analytics dashboard was. Artifacts are standalone, interactive outputs that Claude creates in a dedicated window alongside your conversation. Anytime you ask for it, or it just thinks producing something substantial will be beneficial, it generates it in a dedicated side panel, and you can iterate on it without losing it in the scroll.
Surprise you the main discoveries. Anthropic Conway persistent Claude agent. This is another thing which was leaked. Not actually leaked. This is not leaked. This is official, but it's being tested internally by Anthropic. A dedicated sidebar in the Claude interface supports webhook integration, allowing external services to trigger agent without user. Conway it introduces extension format, creating developer ecosystem. So what it is basically, it's this agent which I was talking about, but now under a different name and as official part of the application. So it probably will be part of Claude desktop application. So Conway represents Anthropic's shift from positioning Claude as a conversational tool toward a persistent autonomous agent capable of complex multi-step task execution. So execution. When people think about
couldn't do the trades. What you're looking at on screen right now is Claude reading a live trading view chart, checking a strategy, running a safety filter, and placing real trades on an exchange. And it's even filing those transactions away for your accountant later down the line. By the end of this video, you're going to have 5 things. Number 1, you're going to connect Claude to your exchange so that it can execute trades. Number 2, you're going to build a safety layer that's determined by the strategy that you've built. That's so it only trades when all of the criteria line up. Number 3, you're going to have the whole thing running in the cloud 24 hours a day, and you don't even have to have your laptop open. Number 4, you're going to walk away with a system that logs for accounting purposes every single trade and every transaction. It's also going to be optimized exactly for how your accountant will need it when tax time comes. And number 5, you're going to have it all in a single prompt that you simply copy and paste into your Claude, and it sets up the whole thing in 5 minutes with no experience necessary. Also, I think it's worth saying, I've got nothing to sell you.
In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can build a fully automated trading bot from scratch using Claude Code. So it will first detect the type of market we're in, adjust your portfolio allocations automatically, and even places real trades for you. We're not going to be building some basic indicator bot that just...
I just built a bot that copies trades from the best Polymarket traders automatically. And I didn't write a single line of code. I watched Claude Code build it while I prompted it. The bot's live right now. Let me show you how. Here's what we're building in this video.
70% of global trading volume is now AI. 60 to 80% of Forex and futures orders are all automated, and 89% of the total trading volume on the entire market is all AI and algorithmic driven. In this video, I'm going to give you 10 different ways on how you can build your own AI agent and the different strategies you can use with it. If you're new to this channel, my name is Tyrell. For the last year, I've been using AI to trade, and now I am showing you live how you can build your own agents today. So let's get into the strategies.
To build a profitable app. And let me just tell you, this is false. Look, I get it. Coding has been required for years, but AI tools have completely changed the game in the last 18 months. And I've watched the complete beginners with zero coding experience build and launch revenue generating apps in less than a few weeks. So the barrier to entry, the barrier isn't a technical skill. It's knowing what to build and who for. Okay. And again, you want to know.
Everyone is talking about AI, but almost nobody is using it the right way. Most people treat AI like a search engine, ask it questions, get answers, and then we move on. But that's not where the real money is. The real opportunity, turning AI into a worker. Right now, thousands of small businesses are drowning in repetitive tasks, sending reminders, chasing payments, replying to messages, checking progress. It's boring, it's time consuming, and it never stops. And here's the key, all of those tasks can now be done automatically by AI agents. Not tools, not prompts, actual AI workers that can run business operations every single day. And businesses are already willing to pay for this. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 powerful AI agent use cases that can generate real income. And we're not just talking theory here. We're going to build one together from scratch. We'll use a platform called Base44 and their new Super Agent feature, which lets you create AI agents that can interact with tools and messages and real business data. So that by the end, you're going to know exactly how to build these agents and then how to turn them into recurring monthly revenue. And the best AI agent builder at this moment is Base44. I added a special link in the description below, so you can go ahead and check them out too. Now, if you want to master Base44 and learn how to build a profitable AI agent, SaaS website, and mobile app with AI, I've created a complete masterclass that shows you exactly how to do it step by step. And since you are watching this video, thank you very much. You can go ahead and join completely free. Again, check out that link in the description to get free access to my Base44 masterclass and really start building your AI-powered business today. So let's start with one of the most profitable opportunities right now, online fitness coaching. So online fitness coaching sounds simple on the surface, but behind the scenes, it's actually a constant struggle to keep clients consistent. Coaches don't just want to create workout plans. They spend hours every day checking if clients showed up, following up on missed sessions, and sending reminders just to keep people on track. And the reality is most clients don't fail because the program is bad. They fail because they just lose accountability. So the first thing that we need to do is open up Base44 in our browser and then log into our account. And once you land on the dashboard here, you'll see several tools available for building AI workflows. However, the feature that we're focusing on today is called Super Agent. So go ahead and click on that directly from the homepage. Super Agent allows you to build an AI agent that can monitor data, send messages, and automate actions across different platforms. So instead of writing code from scratch, you simply just describe what you want the agent to do and then connect the tools it needs. And that's what makes this so powerful. You can create real automation systems in just a few minutes. So let's go ahead and create our first agent.
84% of businesses in America don't have any employees. That's 30 million people running one-person businesses. And the crazy part is 77% of them are profitable within the first year. And it's only possible because of the recent advancements in AI. Now, the problem for most people who want to build a
At the end of this video, you're going to see me build a complete client portal with user authentication, automated workflows, and a real database, all with AI assistance and no coding required. Now, the tool we're going to use is Softer. I added a special link in the description.
AI business is genuinely getting out of hand. In the past 3 months alone, $300 billion went into AI companies. Last year, 61% of venture capital on the planet went into it. That is more than half of every single dollar invested globally going into one industry. And AI is now the #1 reason that people are losing their jobs. And here's what's worrying. With all of this happening, with this much money and this much change moving this fast, most people jumping into AI right now are building on sand, and they're about to get a very painful wake-up call. And I say that as someone who's been building AI businesses for years. I co-founded an AI software company worth over $25 million, and I run a multi-7-figure AI agency. And the pattern that I'm seeing right now genuinely scares me, because most of these people don't even know that they're in trouble. So this video will cover 3 things. First, the mistake that's going to wipe most people in this space out. Second, what every person actually making money has built that almost nobody is talking about. And third, why the next 12 months are going to decide everything. And by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what to do about it. Right, let me paint a picture for you, because I think this is going to hit home.
All of the AI app builders like Lovable and Replit are now pivoting desperately to open Claude to maintain relevance. But I don't think that's the real story. I think there's a much more interesting story if you are in the app builder space that we're not covering, and it has to do with the future of the web as a whole. Essentially, the question is, are there any spaces in the web builder landscape? Are there any spaces in between the model makers and the people that are safe to build in right now, where the model makers won't just make a better model and take the space? And this is highly relevant because if your name is not Anthropic or OpenAI or Google, you got to find a space somewhere if you want to build something. And this goes not just for the big companies like Lovable, but for little guys who are trying to build a software business on the web. How do you build something where you have some degree of confidence you're building in a niche that OpenClaw plus OpenAI plus Anthropic are not going to immediately disrupt and make all of your work worthless? This video is about the 5 things that AI cannot replace and why they're the future of the web. And I want to think about it strategically with
video and supporting my channel. Click the link in the description to start using Framer. It's almost completely free, which blows my mind. Alright, first of all, I want to tell you the story of why I'm building this website and why I decided to go with Framer. I decided to create this website because I get a lot of comments from you guys and from people around me asking what AI tools to use. And you guys trust my channel to give you in-depth explanations of AI tools, but sometimes you just want a quick search to get your answers. This website will be a directory of AI tools for UI UX that will give you all the answers immediately. And as a long-time product designer and AI tools expert, I decided to go with Framer because it ticks all my boxes. Here are my strict requirements. I need a website to have a CMS that is easy to manage and update, so it can't be generated completely with AI. I also wanted to have strong SEO. Now, website builders like Wix and Squarespace can rank fine, but I want deep technical control over my page structure and loading speed to really win on Google. I'm also looking for a free solution. That way I don't get locked into paying for hosting and services while I'm just building and testing the idea, but I also want it to be scalable. And most importantly, I need complex, pixel-perfect control over the design, which I don't get with AI tools. So I started exploring Framer, but the moment I fell in love with it was when they released their AI feature called Workshop. I talked about it in a previous video. It's mind-blowing how you can create a component with AI and still have 100% control over the design properties. Let me show you. So I have a
70 is a little bit less civilized. This one needs power, but it also brings 32 gigabytes of VRAM and comes in under $1,000. And because local AI tends to turn into a hardware addiction, I'm plugging in 4 of them. That gives me 128 gigs of total VRAM, which means I'm gonna need a computer that can actually power all 4, which is exactly the kind of sentence local AI makes you say out loud. Now, I already did a video on the B50 last year, and it was the most bang for the buck GPU you can get in 2025. So now I want to know if the B70 could do the same thing for local AI in 2026. Because just for comparison, a single RTX 5090 from Nvidia also has 32 gigabytes of VRAM, but that comes in just under $4,000 at this point. So yeah, we're about to find out. So of course, to do this comparison properly, I did what any reasonable person would do. I bought more GPUs. This is the Nvidia RTX Pro 4000 Blackwell. Check out that price tag right there. Not flexing, just saying that this is retailed 2 times higher than this card, and it's 24 gigs of memory, not 32. However, it is GDDR7, so it's the newer VRAM, and it has 672 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. It's also very skinny, just like my wallet. Wow. I can see you through the fan. The comparison physically, the RTX Pro 4000 is a much skinnier card, and it also gives you the 4 display ports. So that's a single card slot with pretty impressive bandwidth and very impressive price too. By the way, I got it at Micro Center. It was $16.99, not $19.99. Not sponsored by Micro Center, but still a lot of money. Next, I got AMD's Radeon AI R9700. And up until now, this was the only GPU you can get with 32 gigs of memory for about $1,300. This is 32 gigs of GDDR6 and 640 memory bandwidth, so not as high as the Nvidia one. So they match on VRAM, but this card is about $350 more per GPU. Now the B70 comes in at the lowest price, however it also has the lowest memory bandwidth at 608. So yeah, this has been pretty heavy on the wallet, which is why I'm thankful.
The advantage for Jerry's system is that they're standardized and can be transported and assembled quickly. The construction boom for these data centers has a lot of constraints, and those result in a lot of projects that are announced but later canceled. Energy is maybe the biggest challenge. Electric grids in the United States and Europe are already under heavy strain. Electricity prices are rising, and we haven't even seen yet the big boom in power demand from the data centers. That demand is expected to triple worldwide in the next 10 years. Countries with a lot of natural gas, like the United States, are aggressively expanding gas power capacity. And we see here that in the US, the share of new natural gas capacity that's going to data centers went from 5 gigawatts in 2024 to 100 gigawatts planned for 2025. That dark orange is on site for data centers.
Consoles all being developed using AMD hardware. All of them are x86 now. Like, I think that's just going to become a more and more essential feature, where especially if like the cadence of first party releases is a bit slower than it used to be, I think backwards compatibility could become more and more prominent of a feature, rather
more
than
and more
like
you're insane if you don't have it.
Yeah, whereas like the PS4, I mean, I think people kind of
And
just
PS3 broke it too with PS2.
Yeah, kind of just forgave it because like so many new games were coming out at any given time. But I don't know if this heuristic is going, not heuristic. I don't know if this like general wisdom is going to change, where like I feel like when the PS4 came out, it's like I don't think it was seen as an essential feature, but it's like a negative.
Some high winds doesn't mean it's about to pop. Still, if the upshot for now is modestly cheaper consumer DDR4 and DDR5 prices than a week or two back, I'm all for this trend continuing, even if it is based on bullshit. Speaking of some passing wind, it's time for tech briefs. Do tech media outlets lie? I think the good ones try their best not to, but they can often ride a fine line between fact and speculation, and yes, I'm guilty of this too. But precision of language is important, and that's why you guys should be taking note when something is tagged as a rumor. That means it is unverified and may or may not be true. Case in point, fellow YouTuber Red Gaming Tech posted a video late last week sharing this chart of supposed specs for Nvidia's theoretical RTX 60 series of video cards, including model numbers like RTX 6090 and GDDR7 memory configurations in the 16 to 32 gigabyte range, but it was not put forth as fact, and he even said he was skeptical of the numbers he was provided.
When it's hooked up to the internet, but local will be the thing. Eventually, people are like, I'm going to use the first AI that's available on my phone if I don't have service that also is cheaper, more efficient, and more and get answers, right? That's where all this is going. And it's where the TurboQuant thing is part of the big advance in this, was that, oh shit, we can bring these big AI models that people like to use for work and stuff to your phone or to your iPad or to your laptop when you're moving around and you're not connected to the internet. That's where everybody thinks, like, you know, when that's the light bulb that went off with TurboQuant, more than, oh, these big AI centers can use, they can have more of the output with
growing more than 70% month over month. Then there is the product direction. OpenAI says it is building a unified AI super app that brings together ChatGPT, Codex, browsing, and its broader agent capabilities into one agent-first experience. The pitch is simple. Users do not want disconnected tools. They want one system that understands intent, takes action, and works across apps, data, and workflows. Bloomberg tied this to OpenAI, streamlining its products, including discontinuing support for Sora and developing a desktop app that combines chatbot, coding, and browser functions. That lines up with Greg Brockman's comments too. He said, OpenAI
put these things into the conversation. Some will be good, some will be bad. But as you said, we do feel a sense of urgency, and we want to see the debate of these issues really start to happen with seriousness. Again, there will probably be many more solutions, better solutions than we can think of ourselves in the broader world. But we do think that the time is now to get serious about debating these issues so that we can begin to have some solutions in place before the change that we see coming really comes. Now, we may be wrong. It is possible that even if the technology stays on the path that we expect it to stay on, society takes much longer to adopt to some of these changes than we would expect. But it does feel like now AI is beginning to do increasing amounts of real work, and some of the transformations that we've been wondering about over the last few years feel like they're starting to happen. So as these models get very good at writing code, at doing other kinds of knowledge work, particularly as they get good at doing kinds of new science, the economy, the way our society functions, the shape of work, we think those things are going to change, and we'd like to see people begin to think about how that should go.
So Sam, a lot of these ideas aren't palatable
that can toast 4 of them at once. In other words, it's everywhere. In 2025, around 55,000 goddamn jobs were wiped out and attributed to AI. That's only in the US.
Okay, that's a lot, but it's a transition period. It'll level out, right?
That's what everyone kept saying. Spoiler alert, mother ducker. It didn't level out. In the first 2 months of 2026, somewhere close to 32,000 tech jobs have been wiped off the face of the earth. We're barely into the year and we've practically beaten 2025's numbers. Yeah.
Investments. Are these reported layoffs by Oracle a surprise?
They're not a surprise. What it's signaling is, one, the importance of artificial intelligence, and where it's also, too, is signaling is the priority within artificial intelligence, and that priority is in the compute. As much as we are all interested in using AI products, these tech companies have to build the innovation in order to create that. In order to build off of the products, create the innovation, you need lots of compute or lots of energy to do that. And the way you power that is through the data centers. Oracle is not as big as Amazon, Microsoft, Azure, or Google's cloud services. And so as a result, they have to build the infrastructure in order to build their data centers. They just announced recently a partnership with OpenAI that's going to bring them over $300 billion in revenue. But Alex, in order for them to fulfill that contract or that commitment of compute that OpenAI will buy for them, they have to build the infrastructure, which is the data centers. In order to do that, it's capital intensive, and they had to take.
As more companies integrate artificial intelligence into their business models, a new analysis is diving deep into just how much the technology could impact the workforce. Researchers from the Boston Consulting Group estimate that AI will reshape between 50 and 55% of U.S. jobs over the next 3 years. And they note that while AI integration will change the nature of work, it doesn't necessarily mean job losses in every case. Let's bring in CBS News Money Watch reporter Megan Cerullo for more on this. You know, I've been reading about some of these businesses that are being transformed by AI. I mean, employees, that's like a prerequisite. You have to know how to use AI in order to get the job. How can people prepare for this?
So the report's authors note that it's not all doom through a lot of peer review and all that stuff, but it's basically about we need to reset the way we make decisions, the way we govern, the way we do risk management, ethics, because these technologies are explosive and we've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah. It's like Mayor O'Connor did this morning. Thank you for coming and thank you for being a part of this event. We'd like to thank Kalia and we'd like to thank Amanda, of course, for helping to put on such a wonderful event. This is the second time I've had the chance to speak at the Hike 2 Summit. Last year, we were able to talk a little bit about some community work that we're doing. So thank you for having me back. My name is Chris Velasco. I'm the Chief Data Officer at the City of Pittsburgh. And with me is my colleague, Andrew. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm Andrew Hayhurst. I'm the Senior Manager of Innovation.
And so today we're here to talk a little bit about how the story of getting to our strategy about responsible AI and how we build an AI strategy for an organization that has responsibilities to maintain the public trust, responsibilities to its workers, and how do we make sure that those things happen? And so, one of the things that really kind of actually, before we start getting too much further, I also want to thank and acknowledge our team members who are here. I want to thank Marlena Kane and Will Tang, Shuyan Zhan, who can't be here, right? Because they were instrumental in helping us to develop the strategy in addition to the work that we put in and the listening that we did. So there's kind of a wide community of kind of listeners here, and I just want to thank them too. Not done with thanks. Actually, want to start at a moment where we said leading with values, right? This is our kickoff, right? Our discussion that we want to share with you. We had a conversation last year at Hike 2 during the reception, end of the first day, with Tia Christopher, who is of Orange Peel Collaborative and is also working with us, right? And she said, you know, you can do this by leading with your values. And it gave us kind of a little bit of license to feel comfortable with that, because here we were kind of talking to somebody who was a third party who gave us a little bit of informal advice, right? Saying, hey, you know, this is a space that, you know, that if this is important to you, it should be important to your strategy. And so we actually really appreciated that. And I think that that's also an acknowledgement we want to start out with here. Andrew, do you want to?
Yeah, so 2023, like everyone else, ChatGPT comes onto the scene. And immediately, you know, we start seeing people on our network using it. We hear about it from directors and everyone about how this is kind of infiltrating the city employees. And there was a big kind of scare and push, and decision had to be made. Like, do we block AI, or do we try to figure out a better way, right? So there was precedent to block AI. Lots of big cities had done it. Chicago had famously said, you know, if you're ever on a meeting with, you know, an AI tool, you need to get off that meeting immediately. They didn't allow ChatGPT or any of the tools to be on their network. The same thing with Allegheny County. And so there was definitely precedent to take that approach. But, you know, we wanted to make sure that we forged ahead. And one of the things when I started with the city in 2016, we did a lot of effort to replace what we call technical debt. The city used to have decentralized IT. We had every department made their own purchases for software and for hardware and devices and everything like that. And as a result, we were so far behind in being able to manage our IT infrastructure and our IT, you know, assets. And so we didn't want to fall. I definitely didn't want to fall into that same kind of mindset. So we had to figure out a better way. And so we chose to prepare. By establishing guide rails, training our employees, and like really focusing on trying to bring experimentation to the workforce so that we could do this responsibly and correctly.
There is a system of power that has been constructed where these companies and the people running these companies get to make decisions that affect billions of people's lives around the world, and those billions of people do not get any say in how it goes. The industry is designed in a way that is extremely inhumane.
Guys, Karen Howe, one of the top AI researchers.
Archon soon as well. So the main idea with Archon is you can encode your development process as a workflow, no matter what it is. And so I will link to this repo in the description. I highly encourage you to try Archon today. It's very easy to get up and running. I'll show you that in a little bit. But I have an example here at the top of the README for what an Archon workflow looks like. And so every single workflow is just a combination of nodes, where a node is either a prompt that we send into a coding agent session, or it is a deterministic command that we want to invoke. Because sometimes we want to enforce certain things to happen, like context curation or validation, that we don't want to leave up to the coding agent because it might forget to do so. So we want to plan, implement tasks in a loop, run the tests, have it do a review, even adding in a human approval gate so it can address our feedback. We can build ourselves into Archon workflows if we want as well, and then ending with a pull request. And Archon comes with a skill that I'll cover with you in a bit as well. So we just say, like, use Archon to build this feature. It knows automatically